not going to be the head of cabbage. And other things that should not be growing. Obesity. Hospitals. Laws. I mean, every time you turn to the orthodoxy of our days, we need a law for that. We need a law for that. You know, the Romans had an axiom. They said that you could tell the virility and the strength of a culture by the number of laws that it had. And the more laws that it had, the weaker the culture was. Think about it. You know, when a culture is young and virile and strong, who cares about the heretics lurking around the edges? I mean, that's where all the innovation comes from, right? And so, you know, I don't care that there's some weirdos around. That's cool. You want to smoke? Go enjoy it. You know, that's cool, right? I mean, why should that bother anybody? It's only when a nation is on the verge of collapse and becomes timid and paranoid and vapid and introspective and fearful.
That's right.
Then we demand law upon law upon law to show that we can do something. We can pass laws. And we can make them really big and tall and unreadable and unrecognizable and unenforceable. But see, the more laws we pass, the more criminals we can have. And the more criminals we can have, the more we can fill our prisons. The more prisons we have, the more gross domestic product we have. You know, see, this is the orthodoxy. Drives you crazy, doesn't it? More regulations. My goodness. More dependency on government. Violence in schools. That's a good thing to grow. Man, boy, you know, if we got to hire security guards for all our schools, look at all that extra payroll. That's gross domestic product. Good for us. Good for us. Grow the military. Let's have some more wars, you know, way over there somewhere. Let's foment some instability. Send our CIA over there and, you know, collapse and crumple and deceive and, you know, do some cool stuff. Let's have some more empire building. More empire building. More erosion of our money. Make the money worthless. That's a good thing. Ignorance. Ignorance toward food and farming. That's a good thing because now you have to be more dependent on experts and officials to tell the peasants how to deal with food. A growth in condescension toward gardening and self-reliance and labeling people that can food and have a year's worth of food in their larder as terrorists. That's the orthodoxy of our day. The heretics are the prophets who warn about going the way we're going. The heretics look at all of this and say, no, the United States is not immune from the patterns of history. We're not immune from bread and circuses. We're not immune from a mistreatment of the agrarian community. We're not immune to all that. We're not immune to the Huns coming in. And so the heretics support a do-it-yourself mentality, a self-reliance mentality, of gardening, clothesline, living debt-free, building cisterns to collect roof runoff, composting toilets, roof gardens. We believe the day of reckoning, when the abuse of nature's budget comes home, we will be better able to survive that rectification of nature's budget. Number 5, the orthodoxy says rebels are great everywhere but in the U.S. I mean, don't we, you know, we just love, I mean, we collectively, I mean, even the Burger King folks, you know, love to embrace the rebels in Syria, the rebels in Arab Spring, the rebels in Egypt, and the rebels in Libya. Cast off those scoundrels. They're rebels. Well, what do we call rebels in the U.S.? Terrorists. Sell raw milk. Compost-grown tomatoes. Homemade cheese and charcuterie. it just is amazing to me how in the orthodoxy of our day, again, it's indicative of a culture that is becoming juvenile and afraid. That we view the heretics as actually threatening the country. Actually, how a nation treats its lunatic fringe or its heretics determines its freedoms. Because the heretics have always been the ones on the edge of innovation. Always. And if we don't preserve the ability of prototype innovation to occur, then we automatically lock in the culture for the trajectory that it's on, the infrastructure that it's on, and the orthodoxy that it's on. We desperately need to preserve a way for the heretics to thrive. Number 6. All problems must be solved at the federal government level. Now, this is an orthodoxy, isn't it? It really is. I mean, even both political parties, the mainline two parties, agree on this. It's the only way to have fairness. I mean, we can't have people in Alabama having a different set of rules than the people in New York. One size has to fit all, because if it doesn't, it's not fair. And the problem with arrogating everything to the federal government level, and I know I'm going here where angels fear to tread, but I'm also very aware that when we arrogate every problem solution to the federal level, we negate the diversity of ideas and prototypes that can germinate in the states and on the local level. You know, if the battles that are currently fought at the federal level were a lot of littler skirmishes at the state and local level, the stakes wouldn't be so high, the vindictiveness wouldn't be so high, and guess what? The federal government would not be for sale. The reason that we have the corporate control of America is because the politicians are selling the country every day. If they didn't sell the country, if there weren't anything to buy, there wouldn't anybody be there trying to buy it. And so, this is an orthodoxy of our day. And I hope that we can... I'm not here to talk about, gay marriage or not, or public schools or not, or health care or not. That's not a part of this conversation. All I'm suggesting is that the orthodoxy is that we need to solve all our problems at the federal level. It doesn't allow wiggle room to try innovative things. So we deny ourselves the chance to try new things. See, I really believe, I'm not joking here, I really believe that if in our county I could actually build housing for farm workers on my farm, I mean, you can't do that because it's green space. Farmland is America's playground. We must preserve the green space. But see, I've got a system that substitutes people for pharmaceuticals and machinery, as if people are really more important. But see, that requires people to live on the farm. But we've zoned out people living on farms because people on land is bad. See, that's the orthodoxy of our day. And so, I really believe that if we had loving stewards on the landscape and unfettered government, unfettered commerce, to where you could come to my farm and get raw milk and drink it, and you could get, our charcuterie that I made, and bologna, and vegetarian quiche. I got to give something out there for the vegetarians. And you could, and you could get homemade noodles or whatever, and you could get this stuff without a bureaucrat getting between you and me. I really believe we would have an explosion of the local food system. We would run Walmart right out of town, and we would employ. And I don't think the hospitals would fill with food-poisoned people.
That's right.
I don't. But the problem is, I can't even try this because the federal government is responsible for our food laws. And so what happens is that we have all of these possibilities out here that can't be tried because it's a one-size-fits-all. And I don't even want to get into the debate of which one is the right one. I'm just saying any thinking person has to realize and appreciate that if we had more different kinds of perspectives on an idea, we'd have more different prototypes embryonically out here on a smaller scale to see what a track record is. And so that's why some of us would like to see a federal government about a tenth the size that it is. And you know what? If you live in a state that wants to be a communist socialist state, great, have at it. All the folks can move there. If you want to live in a state where the state says, you know what, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to have welfare, public education, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, nothing. We're going to let people be responsible with their own money, and the people who want to live there can go live there. And then we can see which system actually works and attracts people. And we can have a society that thrives on diversity and innovation as opposed to dysfunctional politics for sale at one sale. Finally, and I close with this one, the orthodoxy of our day. Orthodoxy of our day is, I can't. I can't. We have created a dependency and a victimhood mentality. It's ubiquitous. I mean, I can't start a farm unless I get a government grant. I can't start a farm unless I, have a rich uncle die and bequeath me $10 million. I can't whatever. I can't get in the kitchen because nobody trained me how to cook. I can't make sauerkraut because Aunt Matilda died before she taught me how to do it, and I don't know. I can't change jobs because I've got a 401k plan. I mean, we got the heretics. The heretics say, I can't. I can't. And I don't care what the government says. I don't care what my neighbors say. I don't care what my parents say. I don't care what the neighbors say. We've got this rule that if you really want to know the cutting edge idea to do, if you ask your neighbors and they think it's a good idea, don't do it. It's not different enough.
That's right.
If you ask your neighbors and say, man, you are a weirdo, that's the idea to go with. And Mother Earth News thrives on the notion of I can. Self-actualization, self-empowerment, and self-reliance. These are heresies in our day because they keep money in your pocket. They don't make everything that's wrong with us drive GDP and line the pockets of people who thrive on malfunction and dysfunction and paranoia.